From 2006 until 2013, Michael C. Hall played vigilante serial murderer Dexter Morgan in the first Dexter series, which was based on Jeff Lindsay's books. After 8 seasons, he returned to the role in a limited series reboot titled Dexter: New Blood in November of last year. While the series had a decisive end for Dexter, it could possibly be carried on. And the Showtime president shared his thoughts on the matter, so let's look at what he said. First off, Gary Levine says there's not much to say. In order to create a more acceptable ending for Hall's character that could replace the much maligned original series finale, New Blood's final episode delivered an unexpected and equally controversial climax. Throughout the course of the revival season, Dexter got increasingly anxious about his estranged son Harrison, possibly sharing his homicidal impulses. He ended up forcing his son to shoot him in order to atone for his inadequacies as a father, and the fans were once again left in dismay over the finale. While Paramount exec David Nevins hinted at his future plans for the franchise, the latest comments by Showtime President Levine nipped those ideas in the bud. He responded to TV Line's question regarding the fans' concerns about seeing more of the new series by saying it's too soon to say. He continued to say that they're still basking in the glow of the limited series and that it was everything they had hoped for. In contrast, others involved with the franchise think there's a sure shot. In an extensive interview with THR, Paramount executive David Nevins discussed the future of Dexter directly. Showtime, which is owned by Paramount Media Networks, got a significant draw in New Blood. And in light of that, Nevins was asked about the brands and franchises he'd like to grow further. He hinted at bigger things in the making and said, "What is the future of the Dexter franchise? I am actively working on that." Hall, for one, has stated that he's open to the possibility of reprising his character in the future. Though he's not contractually compelled to return and is happy with the finale, he emphasized that he would never say never. Showrunner Clyde Phillips believes that Dexter was a valuable asset to Showtime and shared his interest in doing a spin-off featuring Harrison. This upbeat tone from Nevins and those more closely associated with the series is unsurprising. The continuation saw a rise in linear ratings over time and set streaming records for Showtime when it debuted. Jack Alcott has also expressed interest in returning as Harrison for a potential spin-off, which could be a means to keep the Dexter universe alive without bringing back Hall. Multiple pop culture favorites have taken the spin-off route to keep the franchise alive, and they've only got more love over the years. While there hasn't been any solid information that the fans can hold on to, it is encouraging to see that those involved in producing the show have a desire to keep the brand alive. Moving on, what happened in the Season 4 finale of Dexter? Season 4 saw the complex protagonist face his most difficult adversary yet. The main action was centered on chasing down the Trinity Killer, who'd been killing in cycles for over 30 years. With the return of FBI agent Frank Lundy, the Miami Metro PD and Dexter singled down the killer, and upon finding him, he befriended Arthur under the alias Kyle Butler. During this time, he even looked up to Trinity as a guide for balancing murder and family life. However, as the truth behind Arthur Mitchell's mask was uncovered, Dexter realized that it wasn't just Arthur's family that was at risk. His own wife and children were in danger as well. The finale was devastating as the Bay Harbor butcher returned victorious from slaying his enemy, only to find his infant son sitting in a puddle of his wife's blood. Now, why was such a tragic ending preferred by the fans? Season 4 is regarded as the series' pinnacle because of Dexter's complex personal journey as a family man, heightened tension as he meets then antagonizes Trinity, and of course the consequent tragic finale. While some argued that Dexter Season 1 had a great ending, the heartbreaking finish of Season 4 was unrivaled by any of the previous finales in the series. Dexter triumphantly comes home after finally killing Trinity, only to discover that his wife was Arthur's final victim. Not only was Rita gone, but the dark passenger cycle had apparently moved on to Dexter's son, Harrison. The season closed on his infant wailing in a pool of his mother's blood, mirroring Dexter's own horrifying origin story. This idea was carried on further in New Blood, but we'll get back to that later. No other finale could come up to the tragically poetic finish of Season 4 as Dexter took on more enemies in succeeding seasons. The fate of Dexter Morgan is the factor that divides most fans, with some believing the anti-hero should pay for his crimes, while others believe he's actually helping society by apprehending serial killers who evade the legal system. This finale tied together both sides in the best way it possibly could have. The title killer would still be alive and on a path to continue his vigilantism for vengeance, but he endures an agonizing punishment for sealing the doom of his wife and child due to those very acts. The Season 4 finale brought out the series' core dilemma. Is his vigilantism worth it if the consequences hurt and ruin the the lives of his innocent loved ones. Coming up, why did the Season 8 series finale receive so much backlash? So we've established that the majority of the show's problems focus on Dexter's attempts to maintain his facade as a good family guy, despite his murderous desires, along with keeping his bloodlust hidden from his fiancée and future wife, Rita, and his police officer sister, Deb. The original climax of Dexter had the serial killer planning to depart for Argentina with his son Harrison and girlfriend Hannah McKay. But his preparations are flushed down the drain when his sister Deb is shot by a serial killer that he just caught. He ends up deciding to send his girlfriend and son to Argentina alone, kill Saxon, and remove Deb's life support as she had gone brain dead following surgery. On top of that, there's a hurricane approaching Miami and the hospitals being evacuated. With his sister in tow, Dexter decided to drive his boat right into the eye of the hurricane after realizing that his acts had resulted in the death of Deb, the person he was most connected to in the world, and he could put Harrison at risk for the rest of his life as well. Miraculously, he survives but then chooses to abandon his son and live under a fake alias as a lumberjack in Oregon. After 8 seasons of seeing Dexter in action, it was definitely underwhelming to watch him abandon his life and give up his son to live quietly as a lumberjack. Let's look at the reason behind this inconsistency in plot and characterization. The final conclusion felt forced and out of place simply because it was. Clyde Phillips, the showrunner for seasons 1 through 4, intended for the series to end with Dexter's death. While arguably more obvious than the real ending, this outcome would have made a lot more sense given his death toll and the enemies he created along the way. Following the finale's airing, producer John Goldwyn said that Showtime won't allow the writers to kill Dexter at the end of Season 8. The argument given by them rested on the fan following, who'd built a bond with the character and didn't want him to die. In an interview soon after the finale, Hall affirmed that the high level of writer and production crew turnover was one of the reasons Dexter lacked a unified storyline. These sudden alterations messed with Dexter's characterization and hampered the plots of the latter seasons. Finally, what was Clyde Phillips' original idea for the finale? After Dexter's divisive conclusion in 2013, Clyde Phillips claimed that if he'd stayed on the show, he would have pitched a drastically different end. He envisioned the last sequence of the series as Dexter waking up, making the audience believe the events were a dream, only for the camera to pan out and reveal Dexter waking up on the executioner's table at Florida Penitentiary. The serial killer would open his eyes, and as the chemicals that would kill him were administered, he'd look out the window to the observation deck and see every person he'd ever killed or been responsible for their death. Phillips went on to say that in every episodic kill, the ice truck killer, the Trinity killer, Rita, LaGuerta, Dokes, and Lila would all have been present, from the little weekly victims to the series' main fatalities. The closing scene of Dexter's original series would have essentially shown everything that had transpired over the previous 8 seasons in just a few seconds, while his life flashed before his eyes as he was executed for his Bay Harbor butcher murders. And that's all for this video, guys. Was Season 4's finale the best in your books? Do you think Harrison should get a spin-off of his own? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.